Come to me, Kynareth, for without you I might not know the mysteries of the world, and so blind and in terror I might consume and profane the abundance of your beautiful treasures. A quote from the 10 Commands, 9 Divines. Kynareth, Kyne, Khenarthi, Kin, and Kaan in the dragon language, which translates to kiss at the end, is the Aedric Deity of rain, storms, air, winds, and the sky, but can be associated with nature, such as animals and plants. Kynareth holds most of her origins and tales as the goddess Kyne in Nordic folklore and their pantheon, but appears in many pantheons such as the Breton pantheon, the Keiichi pantheon, the Kothringi pantheon, and most popularly appears as a member of the Divines. One thing of note is that Kynareth is told to be called upon to determine the star alignment at birth, and is told to gift good fortune in daily struggles. Some tales speak of Kynareth being the first to agree to Lorkhan's divine plan to conceive the mortal plane, as it is told that she is the one who actually created the space necessary for it in the void. Those who pray at altars dedicated to Kynareth are usually blessed with increased agility. Kynareth is mostly associated with rain. Rain was told not to naturally occur on Nirn until after Lorkhan's death, and his divine spark was removed from his cosmic body. The rain that occurs after his demise is told to be Kynareth's own tears, as she weeps in grief of her love's passing. The goddess of the sky, Kyne, in the Nordic pantheon, is the widow of Shor, and told to be the most powerful of the sky spirits. Kyne is told to have gifted the art of the Thu'um to man to save themselves from the chaos and wrath of Alduin and the dragons, and be able to utilize the language of the dragons. The Keiichi aspect of Kynareth is known as Khenarthi. Khenarthi in Keiichi folklore is often referred to as Khenarthi of the Winds or Gatherer of Waters. Keiichi often hold her responsible for the strong winds that delivered Joan and Jode, the twin moons, across the sky. She's also told in Keiichi folklore to have gifted the Khajiit their speed. Khenarthi is often depicted as a large hawk, and when faithful Khajiit die, it is told that she carries their souls to their plane of the afterlife, known as the Sands Behind the Stars. Khenarthi is popularly worshipped among many Khajiit sailors and farmers. Sailors worship Khenarthi for the winds that grant them successful sailing, and typically refer to her as Khenarthi of the Winds, whereas farmers often worship her for the water and rain that she gives the land, and refer to her as the Gatherer of Waters. In Khajiit religious folklore, Khenarthi had persuaded Fatimai to bear more children, after Honor had forbidden this, and banished her to the void. Khenarthi's reasoning behind this is that she grew lonely in her realm of the winds. Khenarthi had successfully persuaded Fatimai of this, and she had then given birth to Azura of the Dusk and Dawn, Nirni of the majestic sands and lush forests, and the moons and their laws. In ancient Nordic folklore, those who were known as the Elven Giants held a severe animosity of the god Shor, because of his seemingly unwarranted creation of the mortal plane. They conspired against Kyne and Shor, and brought about Shor's eventual destruction at the Red Mountain in the Dawn Era. This is when Kyne, grief-stricken, wept the first rains of Nirn. Among Nords, Kyne is most venerated among warriors. As per Nordic tradition, she is believed to bring upon rain, wind, and storms, and can control these forces as such. If a particularly dangerous storm or drought occurs, Nords, and likely any who believe in the divine's power, will treat it as such. In the Nordic pantheon, she is often called the Mother of all men, and it is commonly believed that it was Kyne who dispelled her breath upon the throat of the world, and in doing so formed man. Kyne is told to have molded the first humans not only out of her breath, but out of the remaining wandering Elnothe at the closure of the Dawn Era. Her other title, known as the Kiss at the End, is called such because many Nords believe it is she who delivers you to the afterlife of Sovngarde. The name Kynareth became popular at the end of the Merethic era outside of Skyrim. One modern worshipper of Kynareth in Skyrim, upon being questioned why she still refers to Kynareth as Kyne instead of the newer moniker, responds as such. Those sycophants in the temple would call her Kynareth, just a pale shadow of the truth, like all the temple divines. Kyne, blessed warrior wife, Shore's widow, sacred to any true Nord hunter. She's the mother of men and beasts, and her veil is the storm. Many Nords refer to themselves as the sons and daughters of Kyne, and many even consider her as the true leader of the Nordic pantheon, next to Shore, although many consider Kyne and Kynareth as one. But Nords who follow more ancient beliefs believe Kynareth is a mere pale shadow of the true Nordic goddess of Kyne. While the goddess Mara is also accepted in the divines, many Nords consider her only as a handmaiden of Kyne. The stead of Kyne's Grove in Skyrim is named after Kyne, and many of the wildlife and trees in the area are considered sacred and holy to Kyne herself. One common tale of Kyne blessing mortals with the Thu'um is often believed to have been taught through Kyne's own daughters, and other tales allude to Paarthurnax being the teacher and giver of this power to mortals. And only after the gift of the Thu'um was Paarthurnax and the immortals able to utilize it against Alduin and the other dragons. One word of power in the Thu'um is the word Kaan, the dragon language word for Kyne, and is the first word in the shout known as Kyne's Peace. The full iteration of this shout is Kandrem Ov, translating in full to Kyne Peace Trust. This shout calls surrounding wildlife, making them non-hostile, as in Nordic folklore, nature is Kyne's creation of her own. Kyne is often told in legend to bless the users of the Thu'um, such as Wolfhearth, known as the Storm of Kyne, and Moorhouse, the Bull of Kyne. These two individuals have both been referred to Kyne's sons in legend. Many events throughout Skyrim's history have been told to have involved Kyne in some way in legend. Some legends even tell she was involved with the bestowing of the Amulet of Kings to Saint Alessia. In Nordic folklore, Kyne is often associated with the hawk. Across many ancient ruins throughout Skyrim, many totemic and tribal paintings, carvings, and sculptures can be found with depictions of Kyne. Other than temples, cults, and individual worshippers of Kynareth, there exist two large groups who especially worship her, such as the Friese Hags of Solstheim and the Greybeards, who often invoke her name in the extraordinarily rare moments in which they speak. Some creatures that are often associated with Kynareth are Spriggans. Spriggans act as guardians of the wildlife and hide in places such as groves, glades, along streams and lakes, and anywhere where nature is plentiful and breathtaking. Despite being associated with a holy deity, they are quite hostile and will often attack anyone on sight who dares trespass. Spriggans possess an incredible amount of intelligence as compared to most wild hostile creatures, and even have their own language. This language has been fully studied and documented to scholars across Tamriel. If a Spriggan feels their territory is threatened, they can often summon wild animals or call them for aid from the surroundings. Spriggans are also told to regard the boots of the Crusader as sacred. Many of the most ancient forests and trees have been well guarded by Spriggans for centuries across Tamriel, such as the Eldergleam tree, considered to be one of the most ancient living beings on Nirn, and even regarded as the first tree. According to Skull folklore, Spriggans materialized when the Allmaker breathed life into the world, and as his breath caught with the trees, it created the Spriggans. Lurchers are similar to Spriggans, however, are Spriggans who were corrupted using dark nature magic. Lurchers are told to contain the spirits of Spriggans, who are trapped within the Lurcher until it is killed, and then finally freed from this prison within. Another likely aspect of Kynareth is possibly the goddess Tava in Yokujin mythos. Tava in Yokujin folklore is the goddess of air and weather, similarly to Kynareth in most of Tamriel. Tava has domination over control of all governing the sky, including the clouds, the sun, but does not govern the stars, as that falls under the power of Rupka, the chief of the Yokujin pantheon. Red Guards often believe Kyne and Kynareth to be but aspects or shadows of Tava. However, as written in the Unveiled Azadiah, many Red Guards believe Tava as the true goddess of the sky, but respect that other humans of Tamriel worship her in their own manner, regardless of religious belief differences. But many religious Red Guards hope that one day the preference of Tava will take hold on their religion, as opposed to Kyne or Kynareth. Many tales surrounding Tava often speak of how she had led the Yokudins to the island of Herne, after their homeland of Yokuda had seemingly sunk into the sea. Among Redguard sailors, worship of Tava is quite powerful, as she governs the winds. Many shrines and temples dedicated to Tava are mostly scattered across cities connected to bodies of water and other port towns. The red-tailed hawk is usually associated with Tava, and is considered a holy and sacred animal. However, harpies are usually seen as heinous and profane to the image of Tava. Other worshippers of Kynareth have told to be the Kothringi. The Kothringi worshipped a variety of gods, and had their own unique pantheon. Their head deity was Zen, the god of toil. Their other gods within the pantheon were known as the Mothers of the Aroundus, a triad of female deities altogether known as Dibbe Mara Kin, the current-day iterations of Dibella, Mara, and Kynareth. At some point, however, during great times of strife facing the fatal Khenahatan flu, the Kothringi had turned to Clavicus Vile as a last resort of worship. In some Nordic legends, Kyne is a part of something known as the Hearth Gods, which consists of Mara, Dibella, and Kyne. In these same tales, Kyne is the one who watches over the present cycle of the world. Many Nordic warriors call upon Kyne's name in battle to give them strength and triumph. Each of the Hearth Gods have temples that are located in appropriate surroundings, such as Kyne's being constructed upon mountain peaks, and each of these temples are home to a high priestess of that goddess. One item of jewelry worn by the priesthood of Kyne is known as the Golden Wing Circlet, made out of pure gold. Another item of jewelry in the 4th era that is associated with Kyne is known as Kyne's Token, and was supposedly gifted to the last Dragonborn after they slew a series of animal spirits. These spirits consisted of the Guardian Skeever, Mudcrab, Wolf, Bear, Mammoth, Sabercat, and Troll. Another traditional item of clothing for the Nords is the apparel of the Dragon Warrior. During the time of the dragons, this set of clothing was commonly worn, and one word for Nords who donned this armor were known as Kyne's Doves or Dovekin. Many Nords disagree with the choosing of the head of the Divines to be Akatosh, and believe that the choice of Akatosh being the head of the Divines as a mistake or misunderstanding of the natural order of the universe, as Kyne is the head of the Nordic pantheon, as Shor is no longer on that pedestal after his death. Many faithful Nords believe this mistake will supposedly cause collapse and chaos in the end. Argonians do not worship the Divines and venerate the Hist. However, many Argonians have been observed to honor and admire the power that storms bring with the wind and rain. The Kingdom of Daggerfall recognizes Kynareth as their head deity. Another name Kynareth can often be referred to by her followers is the Pure One. Some of the greatest physicians, doctors, and healers of Tamriel often consider themselves blessed by Kynareth, and are some of the best healers and curers of diseases known throughout Tamriel. Priests who are skilled healers such as this often consider that temples dedicated to other deities only care to heal those within their order, whereas healers guided by Kynareth seek to heal any and all, and even take on apprentices and initiates to show them their ways, as long as they can maintain a solid devotion to Kynareth. An order of knights dedicated to Kynareth are known as the Kynareth Order. They dedicate their mind and body to the worship and veneration of Kynareth. These knights often accompany priests of Kynareth in her temples. These knights are displayed to show immense honor to the temple and Kynareth herself, and are granted full access to the services and blessings offered within the temple, although this is dependent on the rank of each individual within the order. Those who wish to enter the order are chosen on their skills in combat and their reputation within the temple. One of Kynareth's artifacts is the Lord's Mail. The Lord's Mail also goes by the armor of Morehouse and the gift of Kynareth, as Kynareth had gifted this cuirass to Morehouse to aid in Alessia's rebellion. The Lord's Mail has the power to cure poison, regenerate the wearer's health, and holds a resistance to magic. Multiple heroes other than Morehouse have been in possession of this cuirass, such as the Eternal Champion, the Agent, and the Nerevarine. When the Lord's Mail is taken from a hero, that is told to be when they are deemed unworthy to bear the armor, and it is hidden away for the next chosen hero. Some say because of his arrogance, Morehouse had this armor taken from him. To safeguard the Lord's Mail's location, Kynareth has it hidden away in a location only she knows. One individual was told to have stumbled upon the location of the Lord's Mail while browsing the ancient libraries of Thulgamis. However, they had no desire to bear this armor as a hero, and wrote out a letter to anyone who considered themselves a worthy hero to retrieve this artifact, so they too could don it once again in history. The Lord's Mail is made of mithril and ebony of the highest quality, and only the strongest can wield such a cuirass because it is heavy armor. The Lord's Mail is considered holy and sacred to the Imperial Legion, as well as the Imperial Cult, and is even accepted as proper uniform within the Legion. Even though the origins of this cuirass are much earlier in Tamriel's documented history, the cuirass was last seen to bear the red dragon sigil of the Third Empire on its breastplate. During the Imperial Simulacrum, the Lord's Mail was discovered by the Eternal Champion, although accounts vary on whether it was discovered in Skyrim or Blackmarsh. Before the warp in the west in the Iliac Bay region, a witch had uncovered a clue as to locating this artifact. When a member of a knightly order had done a favor to the witch, she revealed its location to them, within a deep and dark dungeon, who then retrieved it. In the Third Era, the Lord's Mail had eventually made its way into the hands of the Imperial Legion. They had stored it within Castle Ebonheart, which at the time was the main headquarters of the Imperial Empire on Vardenfell. In the 427th year of the Third Era, furious Achilles stole the Lord's Mail from Castle Ebonheart, who then escaped to a deep cave complex under Ebonheart. A knight protector employed by the Legion was able to retrieve the cuirass once again, and had given it to Varys Vantinius, a knight of the Imperial Dragon, within Vardenfell. The Knight Protector had then challenged the Knight of the Imperial Dragon for his position of his title. They later battled in the arena located in the city of Vivec, and Vantinius had been defeated. The knight who won this battle was then rewarded the Lord's Mail. Later that year, it is believed that the artifact was sold to Tarasa Aram, who had put it on display within her Museum of Artifacts in Mournhold. However, if it did remain in the museum, it did not for long, as around the 4th Era 180, the warrior had encountered the Lord's Mail on their adventures, although how the warrior obtained it is debated. Some say it was retrieved in a plane of Oblivion known as the Abyss, and others say it may have been looted from a chest at a different undisclosed location. The last news regarding the Lord's Mail was on the 15th of last seed in the 4th Era 201. The Emperor Titus Mede II had written a letter to General Tullius of the Imperial Legion's forces in Skyrim to prioritize important Imperial relics to be utilized as to strengthen the Imperial's forces against the Stormcloak Rebellion. The Emperor specifically noted the Lord's Mail, which in recent news had gone missing. In his orders he states for the Legion to locate it, as to strengthen Kynareth's guidance for the Empire. Alakir mercenaries turned out to be the culprits behind the disappearance of the Lord's Mail, and they wished to auction it off to weaken the Empire. However, unknown to all, the Lord's Mail was embedded with a curse that caused any who chose to don it to be overwhelmed with fatigue and loss of strength. During this time, the last Dragonborn learned of this and was able to claim the Lord's Mail from the mercenaries in the plains outside of Whiterun. The Lord's Mail was then taken to Solitude's Temple of Divines, and at the altar of Kynareth it was cleansed of the curse that was laid upon it. Another artifact of Kynareth could technically be the boots of the Crusader, gifted to Pelena Whitestrake and later the hero of Cyrodiil from Kynareth, to destroy Umaril the Unfeathered. These boots give its wearer an ability known as Woodland Grace. This allows the wearer to pass through the land without worry of animal attacks, such as wolves, bears, mountain lions, and other hostile beasts. According to the Imperial Orrery, the planet of Kynareth orbits around Nirn, shown on a very different axis than either of the twin moons. Some things that Kynareth is supposed to preach is to utilize nature's gifts wisely, to respect Kynareth's leadership, and to fear the might of her storms.